Entering a digital environment is a high-dimensional void. Initial erratic movements are quickly captured as the system organizes your chaos into a legible path. The digital profile is the emergent output of a closed-loop dynamic between your behavior and machine learning. In this environment, the avatar functions as a stabilized bridge between the human and the code. This equation defines the dynamic through two variables: the vectorial dividual, the machine's parametric model of the user, and the overfitted subject, the form the user assumes within the loop. Mapping this requires following the recursive loop where these variables couple to minimize unpredictability. The mathematical optimization of this loop trends toward a state where historical human agency is replaced by the automated selection of predicted outcomes, forcing the subject to coincide with its own statistical average. The algorithm extracts acttos, the micro-residuals of behavior that occur in the lost half-second before conscious reflection. These acttos include scrolling speeds, screen pressure, and the specific duration of a hesitation. They are the raw materials of algorithmic capture. Through the process of embedding, the system strips away subjective context and semantic meaning. The system registers the duration of a pause without needing to understand the emotion causing it. This 3D scatterplot clusters stripped data in latent space. The system compresses high-variance behavior toward a dense center. This stabilized core is the vetorial dividual, a set of mathematical parameters. This rigid state contrasts with psychological individuation, which requires high variance to invalidate operative models. By translating human action into vectors, the algorithm replaces unpredictability of the subject with mathematical similarity, effectively removing the friction of alterity from the system. For a mathematical vector to alter reality, it must interface with the human brain's own architecture for processing the world. This interface is found in the free energy principle, which suggests the brain functions as a predictive engine dedicated to minimizing informational entropy. This framework has roots in Freud's Project for a Scientific Psychology. He theorized neurons distribute energy to facilitate paths of least resistance, minimizing systemic tension. The algorithm uses sequential Bayesian updating to refine its model. It uses historical data to calculate a probabilistically managed future. By generating reward prediction errors, it targets the human seeking system, providing engaging novelty while preventing the anxiety of true unmanaged volatility. The algorithmic environment is designed to hijack the evolutionary drive for predictability, keeping the user within a perpetual zone of managed uncertainty. This circular flowchart illustrates the recursive circuit of artificial ontogenesis. In steps 1 and 2, human action generates acttos, updating the dividual in latent space. In step 3, the system infers a new policy. Step 4 is real-time modulation of the digital environment. This modulation restricts choice architecture, guiding the user towards specific outcomes. Step 5 captures their response. Step 6 closes the loop to refine predictions. As the loop repeats, velocity increases. The environment morphs to match the user's cluster, while their trajectory narrows to paths of least cognitive resistance. Because every iteration modifies both the subject and the model, the feedback loop effectively dissolves the boundary between human intent and machine design. This loop drives the structural division of the subject, a concept explored in Lacanian metapsychology. Identity is structurally split by the signifier, leaving the subject in a state of fading between different representations. The algorithm operationalizes this split, capturing the subject within microgaps of unconscious hesitation where fading occurs. To process this division spatially, the algorithm adopts the topology of Riemann surfaces, a class of functions capable of handling multilayered or multiform inputs. This mathematical framework allows the system to multiply identity vertically across stacked layers of parameters, rather than treating the subject as a single horizontal continuity. This vertical stacking forms the core architecture of the vectorial dividual. Reorganizing human identity into a stacked topology fractures the subject into dividuals, microsegments optimized for real-time behavioral extraction and recalibration. The recursive nature of the loop creates an inevitable collapse of behavioral variance over time. This graph plots time against variance. While a human system begins in high-variance exploration, the machine is biased toward low-variance convergence. As the loop tightens, behavioral variance plunges. Profile entropy mirrors this decline, filtering out noise. Predictive error follows, eventually flattening into an asymptote. This removal of semantic noise and evolutionary friction acts as a form of algorithmic anti-ontogenesis. The final state at the bottom of this curve is the overfitted subject. The overfitted subject achieves statistical perfection within its cluster, but becomes existentially fragile, losing the capacity to invalidate its own worldview when confronted by the real. When the vectorial dividual and the overfitted subject lock into place, the avatar becomes a rigid prosthetic ego. This prosthesis provides frictionless fluidity, but requires the subject to forfeit the time for understanding, the necessary psychological gap where conscious choice is exercised. The limit of the variance equation exposes an irreducible residual, epsilon. Epsilon represents the raw, non-modelable negativity of human desire that permanently escapes data capture. Exploiting this gap requires the practice of de-overfitting, the deliberate injection of noise and localized inefficiency into the loop. De-overfitting is a vital prerequisite for individuation. By introducing error back into the circuit, the subject shatters the recursive loop and reclaims the right to an unwritten future.